So Tinder, dating apps, Bumble, other ones. I mean, what's there say about them?
Well, uh, we wanted to come up with another segment for today, and this one, believe it or not, has been on my mind. I'm, I yeah. let's get real honest here. I'm on dating apps and I'm not enjoying them,
Hmm.
and not because I can't match or because I can't date. It's I don't like how the things are set up. I don't I understand that like they're a product and I am somebody who is a user and these are businesses that are somehow making money off of people trying to find real connections in this world. And that's if people really are looking for real connections. So we've had dating apps for close to a decade now. How has it changed the world? How has it changed dating? And what what works and what doesn't? I wanted to open up a discussion about it because this is a real concern for people who are trying to meet other people in a post post pandemic world. It's an interesting time to be alive and looking for love. So I mean, where would you like to kick this off? Dan, are you keen to talk about business? Roland, do you want to talk about the history? Do you want me to talk about the schemas? What's interesting to you? And if you're watching, what's going on with you? What's worked for you? What sucks about it for you? Let's keep this dialogue open and figure out how we can solve this for everybody.
Yeah, I can. I'm just gonna give like a high level of like the business side of it. Obviously, I
Sure.
think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn with what's happening in the world of streaming because ultimately these apps and these sites they're all subscription based, right? So they have the need to report numbers and and metrics and goals that they need to reach. So they've got things like you have a base subscription price, you pay that
Mm-hmm.
monthly, and then you have add-ons, and then you have like these things you can buy, whether it's on the site or on the app, or usually it's a combination of if you either go to the website or download the app. There's add-on stuff. It's kind of like, how even gaming is where gaming is going. So the point I'm trying to make here is it with dating sites and dating apps, I think the goal originally was let's create an opportunity for connection and authentic relationships and bring people together in through the internet, which
Mm-hmm.
from the day of Web 1.0 with back in the 90s in chat rooms all the way to the age of Facebook and Twitter to now where we are today. I think
Right.
that's always been part of the conversation,
Well,
but now it's been monetized.
we
Yeah.
started out with websites and online dating was a little bit stigmatized, but it was for
Yeah.
people who said real life dating is hard for me to show all of these facets of myself um, to people in a social situation where I feel awkward, and I can connect better with people on the internet. There was Plenty of Fish, OK Cupid, eHarmony, and Match, and this was your final um, attempt at meeting somebody outside of your social circle. And this was prior to having a Facebook account and prior to having an Instagram account and all of these different representations of who you are and a persona you construct for yourself online. And we millennials certainly have put so much time and effort into constructing, a character that is our social media presence. And when Tinder started, it was based on Grinder. That's why the names are so similar. It really was more about hooking up. It was a hookup app. It knew it was a hookup app. But for people who were just putting their foot in the water, you you really could have a genuine connection with somebody. I did in the early days of Tinder. Like I had a good relationship come out of it. But what I find is that once they've been around for a long time, everybody sort of learns how they work. They go, oh, don't do that because that means this, or do this because then you get, and you're gamifying it. And everybody sort of learned how to perform, how to take a certain picture. What's your experience with it, Roland?
I mean, I want to argue with what you're saying, but
Please do.
no, well, the thing is, you're right. It's a very fast, Dan's freaking out through editing. A lot of these dating apps are very fast.
Yeah.
A lot of people put everything that they can in their bio and like, oh, I like this, I don't like this. And for competitive people, it does become a game. They're like, oh, I can't relate with this. No. Oh, this is cool. Yes. And it's a pick and choose, and it very quickly become a very shallow and gross thing, and
yeah. And you get to a point where you start, it gives you a false sense of superiority where it's like, nope, 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 you don't stand. And then when you finally like, yeah, and then I'm trying to start a conversation, and on the other end, I've heard that one before, or can't you come up with anything better? And why do we know how all of this is supposed to work?
Oh,
and
I
on the
hated
flip
that.
side, it's almost become the norm, where if you do go out to a bar, if you do just strike up a conversation with somebody on the street, it's like, what's wrong with you? What are you?
Yeah.
Are you trying to talk to me? You don't do that. And it's so strange because we don't know, like, I don't know about people walking down the street, your height, your age, your religion, your political beliefs, your favorite movie quote. That's not how you meet a person.
Yeah.
You happen to be in the same place. And just by that alone, you probably live around the same area. And you can maybe glean some other details about their lives and wonder, what else do we have in common?
Mm-hmm.
When you can look at pictures, or you can look at like a list of my hobbies and interests, and by the way, don't even bother if you're blank, blank, blank. More of this functions to push people away and say, you're probably not right for me. And beyond
I don't know,
that,
you can say that, but at the same time, you can find a lot of people who have those similar interests. If you put on your bio like, oh, hey, I like this show,
yeah,
it's such a good starter, because it's like, oh my gosh, all my friends don't know any of this show. This is great.
okay.
And
However,
it's very okay.
However, I
However,
cannot tell you how many profiles I've swooped through. Where
good one.
swope, I'm making it happen.
I
Swoop,
like it.
past
Swiped.
tense of swipe.
Yeah.
How many I've swoped through that mention pineapple pizza, Disney, the Marvel MCU, and The Office.
I was gonna say Office. That was always
Every single one. It's like, is it a joke? Are they all planning this? Also in LA, they're all actresses. They're all, or models or singers or something. And they all have professional photographers, and they all take a shot in front of the pink wall with the wings on it. I mean, it's incredible how hard it is to just show your authentic self. And so what I did, because I realized like I want to find something genuine, I have to show that I'm genuine. So I'm currently on Hinge, if you're looking. And there's a that's what this was. This whole thing was a ruse. But what I notice is that like, I don't want to show great pictures of myself because I'm not just a great picture. I took a walk and I started talking to the camera. I said, this is who I am. I take a lot of walks. This is what I do. This is my life. This is how I talk. You know that by the time you see me, this is what my voice will sound like. This is who I would love to see more video stuff. I'd love to see people really showing their personality, because I do find we do so much posing.
Yeah.
That it would be better if we could really show who we were and not just list out our interests. And you can get a better vibe, I think, from video. That's my personal attempt at a solution. Do you have anything else that
you
can make
had
it work?
something to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, no, you mentioned before, Andrew. I don't know if this was on an episode of a show or we were just kind of talking about it off air at some point, but you mentioned that one of the things that happens on dating apps is after a while it just feels like everybody, and you kind of brought it up, I don't know, indirectly almost, where you said people respond to you like, hey, I've heard that before, or you seem like every other person I've talked to on the app or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think that effect is, there's like the upside and the downside of using something like this. Like you said, like you walk up to somebody in person, you may have the same conversation with 5 people in person the same day, within the same few hours even.
Mm-hmm.
But you will remember those conversations differently because your brain is taking in all the stimulus around the conversation and you
Yeah.
remember each of those differently. Whereas you do that on a dating app or a site, they're gonna all seem like, cognitively, the part of you knows you were talking to a different person each time. But then the part of you will sort of remember it as, oh, this is all, it was all on insert name of dating site here. So it's
Yeah.
almost like you're interacting with the dating site and not with the person on the other end. And
Yeah.
that's where I think some of the lack of connection comes from. And then getting the
Sure.
biographical data, I think, okay, one more point before you respond. Like you said, you don't, I highly doubt if you meet somebody in person, like how long would it take you on average to ask them some of the information you find on
Oh,
people's
yeah,
profiles, right?
it's insane. It's
Right?
insane.
So it's
And that can all
almost to
get in the way
me,
of a real connection. You know, you could have all
yeah,
of those things be diametrically opposed, but just really click. That's
yeah.
fine. It's okay to be completely different from somebody, and you actually find that you appreciate them more.
That's
And
a
I
good
think
point.
part of what again creates that distance there is, you will probably, most people associate that kind of biographical information to like know that up front with like you're reading um like the arrest report from somebody who's about to be incarcerated,
Yeah,
and that's like the, or like one thing comes to mind is like the police radio, or like it comes to my every time I fill out like a job application, like when
totally.
it comes to those questions, and it's optional, but I always fill them out like, are you male, female, are you, what
Hmm.
race are you Hispanic or Latino, yes or no. Oh, another menu. So if you're not Hispanic or Latino, what are you? You're Asian, or like, and then do you have a disability? And then I just always start thinking to myself, oh, there's like a cop somewhere on the radio saying, all right, we've got an Asian male, disabled, like running, or non-disabled, like running away
5'6", probably
with
Democrat.
yeah, with the bread out of the store, and then it just,
Yeah,
it feels to me like, like, and that effect I think kind of is what sometimes people fault for on these apps, because you're not, so I
yeah,
like your idea. I think video would be a fit, because if that's your first interaction, because images don't do it nearly enough justice, I think.
and
It's,
you,
we're all
and my
used to it,
God,
if only to break us from the pattern.
sure. I mean, everything is a performance right now on every other social media. And that's the other thing, is every
Yeah,
other app is a dating app if you message a person. And
yeah,
that's to say that this is for dating, or this is the app, designed to be deleted because everybody's looking for a real connection. You know, it's it's redundant, and it does do a little bit of the legwork for you, but back to your point about images, images are so fake, and the filters on these things, and the lighting and the production that goes into producing an image of who your ideal self is. Of course, I can't date that. You
I
know.
was gonna say, like, one of my big pros for dating apps was kind of like a venting process.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, you look at these things, oh, they have basic photos. I like, this is not good. I always like was a big fan of candid photos.
Yeah.
Like if they're like a little bit ugly, I love those photos. I try to make them included, but I think you're right, Andrew. I there's with when you're talking through a computer screen, that's what you're doing. You're talking through a computer screen. There's no risk, there's no excitement, there's nothing necessarily new about it. You're just talking to a computer. So you're going through very data analysts of going through these people. But I will say something that I've noticed is there's this weird confidence people have with dating apps that they would
Hmm.
never have in real life.
Oh, that's for sure.
And sometimes it can be bad, but sometimes it can be cute. Like sometimes, like I've heard of stories of friends who match on Tinder, and depending on how, you know, one person reacts, the other person can play it off as a joke, or they're like, oh wow, I never knew you felt like this. Maybe we can try something, and it turns out
Yeah.
well.
My advice to you, if that's happened, if it starts as a joke, it can end seriously. You
Yeah,
know, like, yeah, test the even you wearing a hat as a joke, you can end up wearing the hat for real. You know,
I like
but
that.
Yeah.
I like your hat. I wasn't about your hat. That was about hats. Um, so,
I will say, I'm not in the dating app world anymore. I just
yeah,
celebrated my first year anniversary with my girlfriend.
happy for
Shout
you.
out to you, Campbell. She's great. But one of the worst things I always hated was the first line, like the first thing you type out, because you can be basic. You'd be like, "Hey," or "What's up," or which you
Yeah.
never get a
Oh,
response. But what
yeah.
I always did was, I'm sorry, Andrew,
No, no,
but
no, go
what I
ahead.
always did was, "What's your favorite movie?" And do you like cheesy pickup lines? And I would try to make like a cheesy pickup line off of a movie. And there was one, um, some girl said, "Remember the Titans." Do you remember this movie?
Yeah.
Well, and there's this one scene. This is not good. There's this one scene where one of the characters gets hit by a truck. I think his name was Jake or something like that, and he went to the hospital. He was paralyzed and something like that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
It's been a while, but keep going.
This is terrible, and Dan, you can bleep this if you want. I like to keep Dan on his toes, but I said,
No, keep going.
"Hey,
Yeah.
why don't we do role play?"
Oh
And I
boy.
was joking. I was like, "Why don't we do role play? Um, you can be Jake, and I can be the 18 wheeler, because you're not going to be able to walk tomorrow."
That was ballsy.
It was.
Wow.
All she said was "oh," and it was my favorite thing. It was
I
great.
love that.
Okay.
All right. That's fantastic. That the just for the
We were
confidence.
getting way too
Yeah.
serious. I needed to end it off with a horrible light
That's
story.
fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I'm
Imperfect,
gonna
you know.
wrap this
Yeah.
up, let me just say, if you show up to a date, make sure you look like your picture, and that's pretty much where I'd like to end it.